Hey guys, good afternoon. So I am back out here in Hollywood, and I figure I'll talk to you guys a little bit. And I always find things interesting, right? So some of you guys are like still commenting on that whole Dr. Umar Danielle saga that just happened these past couple days. It's like you guys are perseverating on this issue. You're stuck on it, and I'm like over it. For real, like even though I'm from Florida, I swear I move like a New Yorker because it doesn't take me long to just move on. Like I move on, y'all. I move on. I'm quick with stuff. So I'm already past that. On to the next thing. And I went to do my therapy session yesterday with my psychologist slash therapist, and it seems to be like our content of our discussions, our therapy session is more focused on like my professional identity and development for some reason. So I just go with it, right? And he's always asking me like, so what are your plans, when you get your PhD? Because I don't have that long before I finish. And it's good that he has me thinking. I'm thinking about that myself independently, like, which direction should I go? And he knows that I've told him, that my research interest, as I told you guys, my research interest is in Black identity and enculturation, implicit racial bias. So that's my research interest and focus. And I've developed an organization around my research. So I'm definitely gonna focus on that. That's my focus. But there's so many different directions I can go with psychology. There's so many different areas of psychology. There's sports psychology, child psychology, gerome psychology, industrial organizational psychology. They call it IO, working with companies, and large corporations. Did I say forensic psychology? Oh my gosh, there's so many different types. I am in a clinical psychology program, so obviously when I finish and I pass my licensure exam, I will be a clinical psychologist. Like I'll be doing clinical work. What does that mean? That simply means that I'll be licensed to do evaluations, diagnoses, and therapy. And in some states, clinical psychologists are eligible for prescription privileges, so we can write prescriptions. But that's not really my niche. My focus is mainly in identity. There's so many different directions I can go, and I find it interesting that today actually I just got an email from UCLA inviting me to participate in this special program that they have for sports psychology, and particularly actually writing for sports, for professional sports teams. So I'm like, I'm a writer, right? And I'm in psychology, so I don't know. UCLA has a lot of stuff going on, so something to look into, right? And my psychologist, he motivated me and encouraged me to explore different options and just get out there and network with people because there's so much opportunity. Sometimes I get opportunities just thrown at me. Like I'm like, how did this end up in my inbox? So yeah, it's kind of cool to get an invite to participate in a writing program for within sports psychology, to write for like major sports teams. And I'm like, okay, nice. I don't know. So there's so many different directions to go. I see myself ultimately as more of of course, clinical, but community. I see myself centered in the community, working with communities and even businesses, doing some industrial organizational work. So we shall see. And even legal. I kind of like the legal system too. Find it to be quite, quite, what's the word? Quite, I don't know. I'm gonna say interesting, but it's a challenge to kind of maneuver through the legal system, and it's actually well paid, working and doing evaluations in terms of child custody cases, which I heard is an increased liability in doing child custody evaluations. Basically, the psychologist comes in to do an evaluation to determine which parent should get the child. So I do have some exposure to that a little bit. So it's a lot of different things I can go, many different directions I can go with my degree, but I have a little bit of time. But meanwhile, I am going to be positioning myself in places that basically lead to my professional career interests. So we shall see. Now, of course, I'm going to take you guys for the ride. But I want to spend a few minutes talking about this whole thing about interracial marriage and being pro-black, because the two seem to be oxymorons, like they don't agree with each other, you know. Some people look at it like you're either pro-black or, you know, you're integrationist or you're multiculturalist. It's as if you can't be both, as if you can't maintain your black identity amidst this integrated society that we already live in. I'm like, believe it or not, you guys, we're already multiculturalists. I know a lot of you black Pan-Africanists and black nationalists would like to believe that, okay, you're just super pro-black, you're all pro-black, and you're not for multiculturalism or integrate. But we're all integrated, you guys. Like, psychologically, we're integrated. Psychologically, we're multicultural. That's just how we were conditioned to be. That's just the society and world that we live in. And there's no escaping that unless you decide to go and create a new society upon yourself and just make it all black, you know. But that's going to take a lot of work to do, you know, to create a whole new to society, a whole new world. I'm like, just think about it. Our cell phones, the technology that we use, are owned by white people, you guys. Like, black people don't own Apple. It's white people your money is going to, you know. So I do find it quite interesting that how some people within the black community, like, they want to attack certain segments of the black community just because they intermingle, you know, or they're, you know, they intermarry with white people and other races. It's like, stop it. I've already kind of gave some foundation in my previous video on interracial marriage. What's up, Fred? I see you. But I gave some, I gave like a little background in terms of trying to give you guys a conceptualization of how and why people date and marry outside of their race. You know, I know the initial assumption is that they are coons, you know, they're bed wenches, they're sellouts to the black community. But it's not necessarily the case. Some black people will actually vocally say, well, you know, white people are better, right? They may say, oh, well, you know, white girls have something to offer. You hear black men say that, you know, they have something to offer that black women don't, because white women, you know, are more submissive and less argumentative and all these stereotypes that go along with white women. And you will also have, you know, black women vocalize, express their perception, you know, of why they choose to date outside their race, simply saying that, you know, there's something that white men have to offer. I talked about that, dating white men versus black men, what's the big difference? And black men feel like threatened. What's up, Fred? But some black men feel threatened and they feel under attack. They feel like I'm pushing them under the bus, but I'm just speaking to realities. You guys, you can't get mad at me, the messenger, or the observer, you know. Get mad at the system. Direct your anger towards the system. And if you're that angry, then develop a solution to fix a particular social problem, which I highlighted in my previous video. The fact that there is a limited dating pool for black women, that is a social problem, in the sense that if black women are seeking to marry within their race, but they are faced with limited opportunities to do so, that is a social problem that's affecting not just one person, one individual, but it affects a large group of people, you know. So let's just stop the attacking, the name calling. People think that by calling someone a name, that's going to somehow get them to convert, right? Like make them more pro-black, make them appreciate themselves more by calling them a coon. It's like, that's not going to do anything. That's just anything that's going to make them raise their defenses, you know, because that's just like calling a gang member a thug, right? Oh, you a thug, you know, so that's what's going to make the gang member turn around their behavior. No, it's a reason why they are affiliated with this group of people, you know, that society calls a gang, but for them, it's like a family, it's a brother. It's a reason why they have that support. It's a reason why they turn to that type of group, you know, for acceptance, you know. And calling them out their name, calling them a thug, a gangster, you know, that's not going to change their proclivity towards that kind of behavior that they're engaged in. So likewise, in the same vein, for African Americans who date outside their race, calling them sellout, like, that's just going to stir up more controversy. That's not going to change the underlying problem. And I already said that it's obviously much easier to attack one individual than to go for the system. I understand that you guys, Black Americans, you want to be pro-Black. You want to maintain the purity of the African gene pool. I get it. I'm all for that. But attacking people, name calling, that ain't going to change it. How about we come together and brainstorm programs or systems that we can create that can counteract this problem, to reverse the issue that's happening. Because let's face it, we're Black, we live in America, and this is post-slavery. We basically are experiencing the residual effects of slavery, what you see, the code switching in terms of our language and how we adapt to certain dialects and languages and tonations of voice depending on our context and where we're at. The whole thing about shifting and how Black people shift identities within certain contexts, and it's an adaptive feature. It's a survival mechanism. It's a byproduct of racial oppression. Even though we're post-slavery, we're still experiencing racial oppression, discrimination, systemic racial oppression, you guys. And a lot of these behaviors and things that you see is just a byproduct of that. So instead of going for the system, we want to attack each other. That ain't getting us nowhere. Throwing shots at each other, trying to come on, that's infighting. That ain't getting us nowhere, y'all. I'm opposed to that. I try to separate myself from people like that because that ain't getting us nowhere, I already said, by identifying this social problem of this small, limited access of a dating pool that a lot of Black women are faced with, how about someone create a dating app? How about one in the Black community put on and host a speed dating event, within the conscious community? Wouldn't that be beautiful? Because some Black women do have certain standards. Some Black women are conscious and would prefer to date other conscious men. We know the conscious community is a very small niche community, so that even narrows the chances even more for a woman trying to find her ideal mate, so to speak, or whatever. So instead of all of this fighting, we got to get more creative, and start producing things, because talking and complaining about it, okay, that may be a start to raise awareness, but we got to take a little bit further than that, and that reminds me of this African-American woman. Most of you guys know her. I don't really want to mention her name, but she had an incident on Spirit Airlines and she kind of went off. She's actually a veteran of the U.S. Army, I believe, 10 years. And, people were criticizing her, saying, oh, she's acting like a typical loud Black woman, da, 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 da. But after, it's funny because I actually had some exchange with her and I talked to her and coming to find out, she is a very smart, educated Black woman, and she means well for the Black community. She is pro-Black, she understands the importance of being centered in her African identity. But meanwhile, recently, she just made the announcement that she's actually marrying her white friend, and everybody thought, okay, he was just, a friend of hers or, maybe a bodyguard, someone to protect her. But come to find out, no, this guy is actually her fiance. And I think it's beautiful. I know some people are why is she marrying that white guy? She don't need to be with that white guy. She's a Black sister. But they look happy. They look like a happy couple. He is very respectful towards her. He takes care of her. He's a good friend to her. He supported her. Maybe she doesn't have Black men around her that do that, so sometimes it's about accessibility. Who are you around? Who's within your close proximity? And for some Black women and even Black men, they are surrounded by white people. They may be surrounded by Latinos. I even said that living out here in Hollywood, California, is a whole bunch of white people out here, you guys. It's Latinos, yes, but it's white people from different countries. I can say one thing, they ain't Black. And the Black people that do come across, a lot of them are homeless. They on drugs. You see them walking down the street leaning. Unfortunately, I'm not sitting up here saying that's all Black people. I know some of y'all women commenting on my posts and say, oh, well, you need to just get around the Black community and get around Black people. And I do. I love going out to Black events, social events and stuff, and getting around my people. But a lot of times it just doesn't work that way. you know. And when I'm at an event, I'm more focused on the event than, oh, let me try to find someone. Like, I'm not going out to meet someone per se, but I know that that's how you can meet someone, you know. Like I said, like, my focus really right now is on my PhD program. That is my main thing. A lot of you guys don't understand. Like, a lot of you guys come to me still talking about this whole Dr. Umar stuff, and I'm like, I already moved past that because I have to. You know, my coping mechanism is work. That's how I cope with stress, with whatever I go through in life. It's just to focus my attention on my business, my work, my school. You know, within my program, like, I'm seeing clients. I have a caseload of 30 clients that I treat, you guys. You know, I don't think I have time to engage in stuff that is not conducive to my development, you know, my professional development and even my business. So I have a dissertation that I'm about to start writing, a research study I'm in the process of developing. You know, I got a lot on my plate, so I don't have time to devote to drama. So that's why I say that is behind me. That's yesterday. I'm past that. You know, I appreciate the fact that he took it down from his page, you know. I respect him. Like I say, I still support him, you know, but I don't feel it necessary for me to include his name in my videos, you know, because I don't know, I don't like drama, and I want to respect people. I want to respect myself, and I want to respect him. So that's the reason why I'm just like, I know a lot of you guys would like to see me continue to make videos about, but I'm like, no, my channel is not about Dr. Umar. I mean, that's only because I look at him as a spiritual mentor. Yes, I'm very much inspired by him and his work. You know, like, a lot of what he does resonates with me and even aligns with what I'm doing within the black community. But my channel is not, it's not about Dr. Umar. You know, it's about many different things. I'm a vlogger, you know, that's what I do. So it's really about my life. That's why it's called Danny's World. You know, I'm focused on that. But I really like this conversation, the whole idea of interracial marriage and pro-black. You know, it's so many different ways we can come at this, you know. And kudos to the black people who are happily married and have intact families. Like, kudos to you. But there is an issue affecting many of us in the black community when it comes to finding your mate, you know. And I'm 34 years old, and I don't have kids yet. And the people say, oh, well, what's wrong? Maybe something's wrong with you. You're attracting the wrong men. It's just like, no, I don't regret any of my past relationships because they helped me grow. These guys were friends of mine, you know, and I still am friends with some of my exes. So it's like, I can't just, push them on the bus and like, oh, they were no good men. I don't see it as that. And I've made a video like, if I date a white man, you guys, and even just by me saying if and putting it out there, it's like, you guys just want to come and attack me and, oh, I'm a bed wench, and calling me names ain't gonna change the reality, ain't gonna change my dating options. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's just not, you know. And like I said, I already made a video, my last video about interracial marriage that I made today, you know, on the whole dating pool. You know, it's narrow for some of us, very narrow, because of our own preferences. We narrow our own dating pool. That's why reason why I said that maybe perhaps I should open it up to other races, or maybe even more ages. But I'm like, I don't know about dating someone younger than me. My age cutoff is my age and older. Not too old, of course, you know. I don't need no sugar daddy or somebody like I have to fucking change their diaper or nothing. No. I don't need that. It's funny that I did mention, you know, Dr. Umar, because I'm like, if I were, you know, people ask me what's my ideal man, and I came across one of his videos or whatever, and back in 2014, and I saw that some of the traits that he looks for in a woman, and I'm like, actually, that made me think about the kind of man that I would be interested in, you know. And I say, well, perhaps Dr. Umar Johnson he actually meets the criteria, you know. And I put it out there, but you guys kind of took it and ran with it, and it just spiraled out of control. So that's why I'm like, let me just let that shit die down for a little bit, put that behind me, you know. But going forward, I mean, if I could create my ideal man, yes, he would be a man, of my caliber. He would be a high achieving man. We kind of see eye to eye on a lot of issues. Strong. Of course, my preference is black. Why wouldn't I want to date a black man? Keep it black. But sometimes it just don't work out that way. That's just like students, in high school. I know a lot of people want to encourage students to go to HBCU, but hell, if they have opportunities at other schools at PWIs, it's like you're gonna attack them because they take a scholarship from a PWI. PWIs have very good professors too. Some have African American professors. So it's like this whole black and white thing. Sometimes it's not as black and white as we would like to think. We want to keep separate and like black people over here, white people over there. But to be honest, we don't live in that kind of world. And if that's the kind of world that the black people and the black nationalist movement want to create, it's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of work. It's going to take more than just being separate from other races. In fact, it might serve us well for us to network and come together with other races, because that's just the kind of world we live in. That's how countries are powerful. That's the reason why America is one of the most powerful countries in the world, because it's not just, okay, let's just sit over here, we to ourselves and we don't fuck with nobody else. No, you have to do business. You have to network, because there are certain things that other countries have that America doesn't have. So that's what's international trading. That's just smart business sense. But a lot of people don't see it like that. It's just like, oh no, you are selling out because you have white friends, or you doing business with white people, or you taking your money to white businesses. And it's like, y'all, we all do. It ain't no escaping that. I know a lot of you guys would like to live in a all black world where we just kind of to ourselves and separate from them. We don't have to intermingle. We don't have to intermarry. We can just be in a world of ourselves. But that's not the world we live in, unfortunately. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Everyone has a right to choose who they want to be with, but I just want you guys to be more open-minded, when you guys see interracial couples, and to not judge. It's a reason why some black men anyway, date white women. They outside their race. Sometimes it's a cognitive, conscious choice that they've made, and sometimes it's just by proximity, like it's just where they live, who they're associated with, who's around them, who attends their school, who works with them, who lives around where they live, and vice versa. Same thing for women. Maybe a woman's best friend is just so happen to be white. She falls in love and boom. I think that's what happened with the girl I mentioned earlier in the video. It's like she's about to get married, and I think, this guy came. It may seem like he came out of nowhere to us, but obviously he's been in her life and supporting her and providing for her, which takes me back to my earlier discussion about, black men, and how a lot of black men just kind of just turn on black women. They make them baby mamas, drop seeds in them, and leave them hanging to raise kids by themselves. And then they complain that she goes to the white man, to the courts, for support. Oh, you don't supposed to bring the white man into your business. But it's just like, okay, in essence, the court system, the white man is more like a surrogate. It's filling the gap. It's filling the place of the absentee black father. And had this man, black men, commit and marry and understand and appreciate the importance of a union, of creating a marriage, initiating a marriage with a woman, if they actually built that and worked towards that, as opposed to trying to shy away from it and look at it like, oh, I'm getting tied down. I don't want to be tied down by a woman. They look at it like they're in a trap. A lot of men just like, no, I ain't about to be trapped down. It's going to trap me down. They feel like a loss of control, I guess, or a loss of power by settling down, as they call it, with a woman. But it's just like, no. I mean, if you see the big picture, really marriage is about building community. It's building family. And family, when you build strong families, you can build strong communities. It's affecting the whole community at large. And that's the reason why Dr. Umar Johnson talked about how marriage is a political decision, but I also want to add that it's not only a political decision, but it starts with love. It starts with really attraction a lot of times. And attraction a lot of times happens at the subconscious level. And then it evolves into love. And then, eventually, love that sustains itself becomes a commitment. It becomes a cognitive choice that people make. You choose to love someone, you know. Initially, yes, about attraction and, oh, you head over heels about a person, but eventually it does become a choice where you choose to spend the rest of your life with someone. And then that choice evolves into a political one, obviously, because it does impact the African American community, and it impacts our, relations with other races on a political level. So I definitely get the whole idea that marriage is a political choice. But as everything else, it's like everything and every fucking decision we make, you can look at it as a political one. Everything is political at the end of the day, you know? And sometimes y'all, it ain't really about politics. Sometimes it's just about survival. People, do a lot of things out of a need to adapt and survive with the resources that they have, with whatever is at their fingertips, So that's just it. I can't go on and on about this because I need to go home, get me some dinner, relax, wind down. But I wanted to share that with you guys, and I have nothing but love for everybody. I can't carry hate in my heart. I want to say people can just live with hate in their hearts and keep it, and on and on and on and on and on. But hey, that's to each his own. Speaking of hate, I have to say this. I have to add this one comment, because there was a comment on my video with the meme that I shared that I was talking about in my previous video on interracial marriage, how there was a meme with a black female and a white man, and the caption was like, oh, I don't fuck with black men, they just, drug dealers, or they into drugs and they do illegal shit and they just want to make black women baby mamas. Basically saying, in essence, black men ain't shit, right? And I added my piece to it. You guys go and read that, or go back and watch my previous video on interracial marriage. But in the comment, a recent comment that was made, someone said, a female was like, black women, are just in pain, black baby mamas specifically, and that they need to just let that hurt go, let the pain go, and so it doesn't affect the kid. And on one hand, I can see where I can see the value in that. But on the other hand, I'm just like, no, it's a reason why we have these so-called negative emotions, of pain, of hurt, and if a person is hurt, if they're betrayed, it's a reason for it. That pain needs to sit there, that pain creates distance. That pain is a protective mechanism, and like I said, it's only natural that happens. You can't force a woman to say, oh, well, she just let go of that pain. That's like saying a rape victim should just, let go of the pain. Just forgive your abuser and just move. Like, it doesn't work that way. It's a reason why the body responds in the way it does. No, it's not natural that a person gets raped. No, it's not natural that a woman gets betrayed and left. But the response that she experiences is natural, and that's what makes her feel safe. And I think that that's appropriate. I feel like that pain that creates the distance between the mother and the father of that child, that's only natural, and it's appropriate. It's appropriate, and it should communicate a message, if anything, that something needs to be done. First, with the relationship between the man and the woman. It's like you can't expect a woman to just, hand over her baby to a man that has betrayed her. It doesn't, I don't see how y'all don't see how that doesn't work. It doesn't go that way. Things don't happen that way. That's just like if it was the other way around. The shoe was on the other foot. A woman betrays a man. Y'all know. Y'all men know good and well. Especially when a man's heart is hurt. That's it. You can't expect to get anything out of that man. So it does go both ways. When a man is hurt, he's hurt, and he separates himself, And I feel like whoever caused the hurt, it could be bidirectional. but just come together. That needs to happen first. There needs to be a positive understanding, respect towards each other. You can't expect a woman just to hand over her baby to a man that she does not trust, that has betrayed her trust, that has stolen her trust, that's broken her heart. That woman's mother's obligation is to her child first. If they were married, it would be a different story. But because he did not marry her, which a good significant portion number of black men don't, they just want to knock a female up and leave her hanging. And that's something that needs to be worked on. It's just like, it's unfortunate that within our culture, and yes, we know what happens in other cultures. Y'all be quick to say, oh, it happens in other cultures too. Okay, so that's just to normalize it and dismiss this whole conversation so we don't have it. No, this conversation needs to be had because this is an issue that is impacting a significant number of black families in America. So no, we're not going to just dismiss this issue or normalize it and generalize the problem and say, oh, well, everybody go through it, so let's just change the subject. No. This is rampant within the black communities. Too many it's so rampant that we have popularized the phrase baby mama, baby daddy. It's like this end thing, you know? It's part of our culture. It's in our music. It's in the media. You know? And that's how some black people want to live because, you know, that's their life. They're in control of their own life. And they just want to be baby mama, baby daddy. It's cool for them, then that's them. But when it comes to a point where, yes, we have families divided, black men are mad, upset, furious because they can't see their kids and they don't understand why, you know. It's funny because when I was doing the online dating thing and men would, you know, hit on me and they have kids, and my criteria has always been I don't date men with kids, you know, because I feel like, okay, he did it to her. He ain't married her. He just knocked her up. Hell, what make me any different, right? I always thought that. But then more recently, I broadened my dating pool a little bit and just kind of changed my standards somewhat and began to somewhat a little bit consider men who have kids, right? And I was in conversation with some men and, you know, like I said, before I had changed my standard, I would tell these men, you know what? Go back to your baby mama. Go talk to her. That's where you need to start. Don't sit up here and try to start a whole new relationship and you ain't changed nothing about yourself that led to the separation between you and your ex. It's like, no, something went wrong and you need to go correct that. I don't like the idea that men think that they can just do women wrong and then leave her hanging with the baby to take care of by herself. You know, you don't want to respect her, but you got so much love and respect for the child, and then you go and create a whole new family, start a whole new relationship with a whole nother woman like you claim you got so much respect for, but then it falls apart because you're the same person that you were previously. And yes, we know this goes both ways, but like I said, I put the responsibility on the man because we got to get back to the basics. The man's supposed to be the head of the household. We can't let society dictate how we run our African families, you know? The man is supposed to be the head of the household. Yes, it's up to each individual couple to choose how much is going to be contributed to the household by each party. You know, some people agree 50-50. But at the end of the day, I feel like if the man just stand up to be a man, I feel like that's just lost. More and more men are kind of losing their sense of self, losing what it means to be a man, because we live in this flexible society. You know, it's all about freedom of choice and being who you want to be. So there's gender fluidity. You know, there is all kind of fluidity within relationships where it's kind of acceptable, you know, for men to kind of step down, be, I guess, less of a man, because the whole idea of a man, the construct has changed over time. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're masculine, you're dominant anymore. You know, there's so many different varieties of manhood nowadays. So that's the reason why I do have my limited dating pool, because I have certain preferences I look for in a man. And the most important, I think, is being alpha male. You know, it's crazy that I have to state that. Like people, when I was dating, or exploring my options, men would say, "Oh, what's your type? What you're looking for?" And I would have to specify dominant, as if it almost should be a given, right? You wouldn't think. I think probably back in the day, maybe in the 40s, a woman probably wouldn't have to say, "Oh, I'm looking for a dominant man." It's just like a man, and it's kind of assumed that a man is dominant, but not nowadays. No, no, no. You have a lot of passive, submissive men. And hey, to each his own, but that's not my type. I do like them dominant, and I like I like a man that's well to do, that's successful, that's headed somewhere, doing great things in the black community. Basically, a mirror reflection of myself, and a man who respects and values the institution of marriage. Because at the end of the day, I ain't trying to be nobody baby mama, and him being black is just a bonus. Being black, finding a good black man to seal the deal is just a bonus. Which I have to say this one last thing for in this video, because that remind me, I had a conversation with one of my colleagues who I mentioned before in my video, and how she's kind of dealing with this same situation, of finding a life partner, or being found, as the Bible says, by a life partner, right, by a man. And she was saying how she is struggling with that idea, like, should she date outside her race? But she's also pro-black. She is very, 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 very pro-black. She is born and raised in LA, so I feel like LA black people kind of got a sense of more of African pride, than other black people across the country, just because of the history of LA and LA riots. Like, black people in LA been through some stuff too. I mean, black people all over been through things, but there's a deep history, of racism out here. And she understands it. She gets it. And she's like, yeah, she's very pro-black. But she's like, let me think about, dating some white men. I had to warn her. I said, let me tell you this right now, because I already tested it out. I did a little test with y'all when I made that video. I do a lot of tests. Some of you guys wonder, like, what is this about? A lot of times I be testing y'all. I like doing tests. I like putting things out there in the universe and seeing how the universe responds. I'm a researcher. Hey, don't attack me for being a researcher. I'm a psychologist in training, so I like to study human behavior. I just like to study people, period. And I say I tested the market, and I put it out there in the universe by making a video saying, what's the difference between dating a black man versus a white man? And I kind of expressed my thoughts on that, just to see how people would respond. And I said, girl, they attacked me. So I said, I had to warn her about that. I say, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I just have to make it clear to you that, this is a possibility that you may experience some attack, because, you're advocating for the black community. You're saying you're pro-black, but then, they see you with a white man. So just know that's something that you're gonna have to deal with, an added layer of stress that you're gonna have to deal with, as opposed to if you were dating a black man. It's like it wouldn't even be a topic of discussion. No one really would care, So that's something to think about. That's something that you guys, I know a lot of women who watch my videos, they are considering dating outside of their race, because it's just opening up their options. That's all it is. You can focus on one small niche of a population, or you can open your population up to more people, and it's just much easier. That's just like doing research. With being that my focus is on black identity, it is much harder for me to recruit participants, because that's a very small niche, the black population. And not only that, but looking at pairs of parent and children, preschoolers, that's a very niche market. Whereas having inclusion criteria for all races, and just keeping it at adults, it's much easier to just recruit people from all different races than just to focus on a very select portion of the population. So that's something to think about. But hey, I'm about to go. I appreciate you guys for watching. Feel free to share this video, continue the discussion below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Love you guys. Bye.